In this video, I'm going to share with you a framework you can use to troubleshoot any problem inside of your GoHighLevel agency. This framework I'm going to share with you transformed my agency to over $20,000 per month, and I have no employees, no team members. So if you kind of like what I share in this video and you want to learn a little bit more, just leave a like, drop a comment, and I'll send you over a free mini course so you can learn how I built my agency. Now, with that being said, let's get into this framework. So when we look at an agency, we need to oversimplify it and take a 30,000 foot view before we just start getting into all the specific details about what we're attempting to do. And so if we simplify our agency, we can simplify it into these three categories. So we have a niche, a group of people with a problem. And then we have an offer. This is our proposed solution. This is our pricing. This is what we're planning to do to lead them into part three, which is the result. Okay. Now, something that may change your perspective is to understand, regardless of your financial success with your agency, or regardless of, any specific thing you're doing in your agency, this formula is actively occurring in your agency. So let me give you an example. Somebody that has 5 different types of people that they're providing services for basically just has 5 different niches. And if they have custom offers with each of those people, maybe because they just said yes to whatever, somebody wanted them to do for them, and they basically got them to agree and pay, then they have 5 different niches, and then they have 5 different offers. And then as a result of that, they may have to create 5 different types of systems, and these are essentially custom systems, right, at this point. And so this person has 5 different niches, 5 different offers, 5 different results, because, these people are basically buying different things, okay? So it's important to understand that you are inside of this framework, regardless if your agency is successful or not. So what I really found helpful, and what I wanted to share in this quick video, is to solve one problem at a time and to solve them in the correct order, okay? So what I see from a lot of people that are getting into creating an agency is they don't go in order. And it's easier said than done, right? Especially if you're just getting into this space. But what people tend to focus on is, is the system going to get results, right? Or they spend a lot of time in GoHighLevel and they're trying to figure out all these different results and trying to figure out this entire back-end system. When in reality, the more effective way and the logical way to actually have success is to start in order and solve problems specifically in the order that they're presented. Okay, so for example, one of the things that I was able to solve within my niche and figure out as a successful formula in terms of picking a niche when teaching others is that, number one, my offer, right, and the thing that I offer to that niche is to generate them leads and appointments, okay? And so the vehicle that I personally use to achieving that is running templated Facebook ads, all right? So I didn't go in order, right? When I was starting, I was just doing all these different things, right? But as I looked back, I was able to identify that there's a specific process that you can actually follow to figure out if a niche will work for the type of service that, I teach people how to offer, which is very simple and it's low maintenance and it gets great results. Okay, not just because I'm so smart, but because paid ads create traffic every single day for a business, and then they get leads and appointments. So it creates a really consistent system. Okay. So one of the things that I figured out when picking a niche was that for this particular offer that I have, I wanted them to be high ticket businesses. Okay. Because when I would get them as a client, if I get them if they convert one of the leads that I bring them into a paying customer for them or a paying client, if they don't have the economics to succeeding with my service fee plus the ad spend, then we're not going to really last that long, right? So one of the things I identified was that the niche needed to be high ticket, okay? The second thing that I identified is that there should be proven ads inside of the Facebook ad library. So this is maybe new information if you've never heard of this stuff. But basically, there's a Facebook ad library that allows you to see all of the different ads that people are running. And so you find a high ticket service-based business, and then you check the Facebook ad library to see if you can identify a segment, a cluster of proven ads. Now, proven ads, as the way I'm defining them here, would mean these ads have been running for 5 to 6 months or longer, right? And those ads are active from multiple different pages in multiple different areas. So what does this tell us if we are doing this in order? Well, if we have a high ticket service-based business and they have the economics to support our offer and what we're going to be presenting to them, and we have found a cluster, not just one, right? Not just one random event or somebody that told you they're doing this thing that they think is going to work. We have found literally 50, 100, 500 proven ads that have been running for a period of time in that specific niche. So now this has told us 3 things, okay? We have a specific group of people that have the correct economics to pay for our service. Number 2 is there is clear evidence that a system for that specific niche is working because people only run ads for 6 months or longer because they're generating leads and appointments. People don't just run ads for 6 months if they're losing money, okay? And the third thing that this tells us is that the people that are running the ads, right, are being paid to provide the service. So instead of trying to create our own demand, we can go into a proven niche with those 3 elements, okay? So you don't have to go through a bunch of trial and error to realize that those 3 elements, right, with the model that I do, the model that I teach, are the elements that are required for success. Now, the niche I've chosen is real estate investors, and they fit all of that criteria. If they get one deal from my system, they're going to make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, okay? I can go into the Facebook ad library and find hundreds of investors that are advertising for their business. And there are also clusters of ads that are very similar with very similar messaging, which means they are consistently paying for this type of result that the advertisement produces, okay? So this is step 1. If you want to follow a very simplified model that you have a predictable fulfillment system for, that is the process, that is the order you need to go in order to do it, okay? You have those 3 things, and now we move on, okay? So you already have that as your constant, okay? That means once you've decided on that, and once you have those 3 pieces proven, you need to stick with that, okay? Do not change that until you go and figure out all the different problems in the offer stage, which I'll share with you a few, so that you know, because what people will do is they will pick a niche, right? Like they kind of just pick one, they make an offer one time, and then they change the niche, right? So if you have the correct fundamentals, you can stick with the niche and then move into the next phase, which is now the offer, okay? So now we just have some basic fundamental things here, right? Which is the specific offer that you are making to them, okay? What I teach people to do, because this is what I've done and all based on my experience, is do a pay per lead offer to a real estate investor. Now, I could go into way more detail on that, but I'm not going to for this video. But the core thing here to understand with the offer when you're doing a pay per lead is to define what a lead actually is, okay? So inside of the offer, you have to clearly define what you mean when you say you will get them a lead, or what does that mean when you say you get them an appointment? Is that in person? Is that on the phone? Does that mean someone filling out a calendar and not showing up for the appointment? You have to get clear on that, right? And so you only start to move into this, which I'm going to cover in a second, once you have broken through an offer that people repeatedly buy at the same price point from the same niche, okay? And this was the formula that changed literally everything for me. I'll never forget, I was doing a custom consulting project before I knew all the things I'm sharing with you guys here. I was getting paid $15K per month to build out funnels and run ads and do all this stuff for a big real estate company. And I was working on this formula here that I'm telling you about on the side or in the background. And I'll never forget, I was doing this project and, where I was being paid a lot to do it. But yet in the background, I had 6 different real estate investors, which is my niche, all on the same offer. They were all paying the same exact price point, and they were all getting the same service delivery, okay? They were all getting the same ads. They were doing it in different areas, but it was very, very, very similar. Pretty much as similar as it could get, other than them choosing where they wanted to actually market, okay? And then the time that there's multiple times I realized I had, I guess it's in my mind, I used to think it was magic, this formula, but now I realize it's just like a science like anything else, which is part of what I want to teach people on this channel, is that it isn't a miracle. It's not magic to actually do this correctly, okay? But one of the times I realized this was when those same investors were all getting results. Results meaning they wanted to make more money from my system, right? That's the simplified way of explaining it without getting into all the specifics of real estate investing, right? So I had a group of people that all had the same problem. They were all investors. Like, that's all they did. They all did the same thing, just in different areas. Then they all paid me the same amount for the same service, which told me, right, I had something that would convert and it was working consistently, right? And so what some mistakes are that people make here is they make too little offers, right? Or they don't dial in or perfect the offer, and then they go back here and try and change the problem here. But really, you have to understand all the elements of the offer and troubleshoot the offer in isolation, as long as you've done the niche, selection correctly, right? And so they were all getting results. That was the first time that I was like, okay, I have something here. I finally cracked the code. But the time that I really drove this home was when I was able to automatically produce the result with an offer to the niche without me doing any physical work. So let me explain. So when I started my agency, I would set up their ads, set up their funnel, set up their system, and I still do that, right? But as I got more experienced and learned that this was a science and it was a system that worked independent of me, I started offering it to that niche at a different price point in a different way, right? So I realized, okay, well, I'm doing the ads, but now there are tools that allow them to do the ads as long as I provide the ads. And I'll never forget, I've had tons at this point, but multiple customers, right? So from the niche, actually fulfilled the offer that I made to them. Like, they did the work, they ran the ad, they followed my process, and they produced the result. And so when you're starting your agency and building it up, it's very easy to get carried away in all the different ways you can do it. But your job is to literally protect these core elements, decide, what kind of life you want, what kind of agency you want, and defend and protect these and do them in order. Because every time you start changing the inputs at each of these stages, you start interfering with the completion of the whole system. And so I went from doing these ads and, me like still kind of figuring it out, right? Because I was piecing it all together. And then when I started to see I was doing the work for people and getting them consistent results, then I knew it was just a matter of changing the mechanism, and which in that case was going from, done for you services and then incorporating a do-it-yourself model. And then when I added the do-it-yourself model and I saw people getting results, I was like, okay, so I've actually created something independent of me that actually works. So hopefully this gives you some clarity here on how it's not easy to do this, but it's simple in the sense of understanding these are all the different elements that go into it. And I see this mistake being made time and time again where people have results, maybe they've already done something and they just don't know how to market, so they go pick a new niche because they don't have momentum anymore. Like, I've seen this happen many times. And so hopefully this gives you some clarity on how to do this. Now, I just started releasing my business model, so you guys that want to can clone this entire formula that I just shared that's already proven. You don't have to essentially think about any of these. You just follow what I've done, and I give you all the systems and resources for that. So you can check that out. You can get a free trial if you opt in for that course. There's a link to get a trial with my GoHighLevel affiliate link, and you can skip through this process, and then all you essentially have to do is learn how to sell. Okay, and I even give you the course on how to get this niche on the phone with you so that all you have to do is sell. So I give you the niche, I give you the offer, I give you the proven result system, and then all you literally have to do is learn to sell on their, on the phone with them. And there's even other methods that you can do that are video based or whatever. But the point is, I've removed all the guesswork and basically kind of handed you this, franchise, this business in a box. And then all you have to do is, follow the process. So hopefully this was valuable to you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.